Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You are about to listen to the Totally Super Awesome 80s Reboot Overdrive podcast.
This podcast is our fan tribute to the Incredible Hulk TV show. Be advised it has been exposed to radiation and we caution to listen at your own risk. You have now entered GammaCast.
And welcome to the Incredible Hulk. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me to my right is the awesome...
80s music girl.
Ah, she is so awesome. Every minute, just a wonderment to behold. Okay, tonight's episode. Bring me the head of the Hulk. Season 4.
Dun, dun, dun.
Season 4, Episode 6. Original air date, January 9th, 1981. A mercenary arrives at the National Register to offer Jack McGee's help in pursuing the Hulk, but when it comes to light that the man's real intention is to kill the creature, he is turned away, or turned down by the Register, only to be hired by rival publisher, Limelight. Tonight's episode directed by the one, the only Bill Bixby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And written tonight by Ellen Cold, Chris Bunch, and of course Kenneth Johnson, developing for television. Okay. Two items I gotta call out right now.
Right.
Le Front. Jed
Yes.
Mills. Okay.
Yes.
Did you see Days of Futures Past?
Yes.
Does LaFront look like freaking Peter Dinklage in this?
Yes.
Yeah, he does. And I gotta wonder if Peter Dinklage is going through like old records of stuff and comes across this and says, "That's my Trask." I don't know. All I know is that LaFront looks like Trask. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's how you know Jed Mills is a pretty amazing actor. Do you know what he did prior to LaFront?
What?
He played Teddy in Broken Image.
Wow.
The guy that was just the hench who was just like, yeah, whatever you say, boss, I'm there. And that was him, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he's a working actor. He's all over the place. You heard her. He was Carl in Whiz Kids. Always happy to see Whiz Kids come across. He was Frank in Night Court. In The Trouble Is Not in Your Set. He was Monroe in Quantum Leap. He's been around.
Yeah.
He was Barry Rosenberg in 8 Crazy Dates, which is out in 2015 or is already out. So track it down, kids. I'm sure it is a phenomenal piece. A lot of other actors in this. You have Walter Brooke, who what was he? Was he the editor or was he the gardenist? He's the editor because he's Mark Roberts throughout several episodes.
Right.
And he actually is all over the place here. He comes back in Buck Rogers and he was in the A-Team. He was General Bullen. He was in Quincy M.E. in about 6 different roles. Blue and the Gray. Yeah, he's all over the place. Okay. But anyway, tonight's episode we get basically LaFront has decided he's going to track down the Hulk.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, he's real meticulous about all this.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows what the Hulk responds to. He knows there's a guy who's takes a medical job, and then the Hulk shows up, and it's pretty insane, really.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit of homework on this.
Yeah, well, you see, he's got like the supercomputer, so I'm guessing there's just all kinds of data going in there. And this is, of course, your super 80s fancy computers.
Mm-hmm.
Not the actual computers you had in the 80s.
No.
These are computers that were in these fictional universes of the 80s that were basically 8 billion times smarter than your smartphone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which is kind of interesting. But it's compiling all the data, and it comes up with this, it spits out this idea that there is a guy who turns into the Hulk. And there's an interesting implication in all of this, which I think it's a little bit glossed over, but it kind of suggests that he's done this more than once.
Yeah.
Because he says he's as close as any of the people we've ever found.
Yeah.
Which kind of suggests that how many times have you done this?
Yeah.
How often have you been looking for this? And in this case, he's trying to get his $1 million. He puts up his $180,000 to equip the lab and set up the whole situation with a crew of guys. They get David on the line because they put the ad in the paper. Now, how they knew he was going to see that ad in that paper, nobody knows. But we're going to assume that as they were making their plans, this is what they figured out.
Right.
And he responds, and they're like, "Oh, have you ever worked with this thing?" He says, "Certainly, I work with that all the time." He says, "Really? Where?" He says, "Oh, well, actually, the place I worked at, they had a fire, and all the records burned." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I heard about that. Tragic business, what?" But again, that's like the beauty of the 80s, is that was a perfectly legitimate statement.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's like, okay, I guess there was a fire there. And you could look it up and you could say, you could get the microfiche out, go to this day, and say, it turns out there was a fire at the lab. So his story checks out.
Yeah, and I get the impression, and this is the very first impression I got of LaFront, is that he is way more qualified to find the Hulk than Jack McGee is.
Well, here's what I'll say. If we're going to
just saying.
If we're going to give that LaFront is using the computer.
Yeah.
And the computer's doing the heavy lifting.
This is true.
I don't know if it's honestly, yes, I agree that Jack, at this point, should dang well know there's a guy named David at every scene the Hulk shows up at.
Yes.
Honestly, that Jack doesn't know that kind of suggests to me that maybe Jack's really kind of playing it fast and loose. I don't know. But he should definitely know that by now.
Exactly.
But we get this episode, and honestly, this was really a fantastic episode.
It was. I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes, and I usually have 15. But I was literally watching this thing the whole time.
I love when LaFront is in his Parisian locale. Because this is back when the Concorde was still flying, so you could get back and forth real fast.
Yeah.
He's in the Parisian locale, and you see he's got the model of the Hulk on the wall. He has clearly become really obsessed with this, and you see him talking to his right-hand man, the attaché, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? According to our records, 70% of the readers of the register think that the Hulk is real, and there's this and that, and it's really, you realize that all this data compilation, which again, for January 1981, is a very real thing at this point, This was just when deep data was becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And there were people that were like, "Oh, wait, maybe deep data isn't the best idea in the world." And other people said, "Oh, who cares? It's just a little data." Where could it all possibly lead? I can't imagine my privacy being compromised in any conceivable way. And,
Absolutely.
and then we're today. Which, I don't.
Besides, it all comes out as numbers anyway. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the truth of it. Like, when you really dig down into it, you kind of get to this thing like, look, you know what? It's not like my name's associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do a deep dive, you could probably figure out what porn sites I go to. Um, only the most pure and
Really have.
respectable porn sites, I promise you all. Um, you could probably do a deep dive and figure that out. But the fact of the matter is generally speaking, most people aren't that interested in that.
No.
What most people are interested in is like, okay, the people in this neighborhood, where do they go? What do they do? What do they buy? What are the
Mhm.
addresses of people who bought stuff? Because they don't
Mhm.
even want the name. They just want the name to show up on the mailer they send you. You know?
Right.
They're not even really
Exactly.
that interested in looking into the deepness. They just want to know that the computer talks to the other computer, and that computer tells them what name to put on it, and then they send it out.
Mhm.
And if 20% comes back, they had a hit.
Right.
But that's that. That's deep dive data. Anyway, they have a plan to catch the Hulk, and they start by going to McGee.
Mhm.
And McGee really quickly realizes you want to kill the Hulk.
Yeah.
And he is like, well, we want to deal with the Hulk. And he's like, no, you want to kill the Hulk. I don't want the Hulk murdered. You know?
Yeah.
Because, for what it's worth, I think he probably knows that if the Hulk ever dies, then he goes back to being Bruce Banner and you lose whatever the Hulk was.
Right.
It's like, if there is a Hulk, you want to deal with him as a Hulk, or deal with
Mhm.
him as Banner, and then sort of talk to him to try and understand what exactly happened.
Right.
This idea of trying to kill the Hulk, it kind of overshoots its own premise.
Right.
But that's what LaFont wants to do. And when Jack turns him down, he goes to Limelight, and Limelight's like, sure.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, and this is an interesting thing, is that when McGee turns him down for $1,000,000, he
Mhm.
goes to Limelight and says, "Oh, it's only going to cost you $180,000, and you don't even have to put up $180,000. I'll put it up."
Mm.
Which basically has Limelight saying, "So basically, we do nothing."
Yeah.
Okay, you're hired, I guess.
We can do that.
We can do absolutely nothing while you give us information. That'll be great.
Yeah.
But that kind of shows how obsessed Lafont is.
Yeah.
He is Ahab in the White Whale,
Mhm.
and that comes out to play as we go on, because of course you have them hiring the werewolf, the doctor who is doing experimentation on genetic manipulation and acceleration and of
Yeah.
metabolism,
Mhm.
and kind of waiting for her to turn into a werewolf throughout this whole thing, but it didn't happen. Um, I figured that was a long
Yeah.
shot, but you're hoping. You're always hoping. Um,
Yeah. I was kind of hoping that, she had some. You do find out later on what, the connection is.
mm,
And, technically you're just a little disappointed. You're like, oh,
well,
so no
what it is,
werewolves, huh?
you know what it is
Darn.
she makes a dang well point, which is like, hey, look, and not for nothing, she's a woman in the scientific field. People are
Mm-hmm.
always tearing her down. Now, granted, she clearly does not have strong laboratory practices.
No.
She has like pretty lousy lab practices. She is like
Yeah.
an OSHA violation waiting to happen, to the point where
Oh boy, is she ever.
you almost wonder, gee, is it really that people are upset about what you're doing, or are they just upset that you're, just bad at this?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
leave a book on a laser separator, and then the laser just starts shooting lasers at things. Well, you're off looking at something else for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. The fact that it didn't even cross your mind that something like that could happen. And of course it has to beam right over to where the acid is and
I mean,
yeah.
I really have to say, really honestly, she just has bad lab practices.
Yeah.
There's no judgment about her as a scientist at all. It's just really
Yeah.
bad lab practices. I mean, not even like, I mean, here's what I'm going to say. I was like, I can even excuse, like, well, let's go inject some rats with this stuff. You know, when David's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe we should do it one more time, make sure that our findings are good. And she's like, no, the findings are fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but even going into that mad scientist thing, okay, she injects the rats. Maybe the rats get all kind of cancerous and die. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's a very different thing than, okay, let me just leave a book on the control pad
Yeah.
and let's just explode
The chips
some
fall
acid
there they
balls,
may.
yeah. But the acid does explode and gas leaks
Mm-hmm.
out and she starts dying.
Mm-hmm.
Which causes David to come in and Hulk out, and he
Yep.
smashes through a wall to get her out, or smashes through a door, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, smashes through
It
a
was a
door.
wall. It was something.
It was something, but they get her out.
Made a
She can
big,
have
big
care.
hole somewhere.
Honestly, this girl is going to have lung cancer by the end of this, because she is just inhaling
Oh,
so many toxic gases.
absolutely.
You know, all throughout it. But anyway, she gets out, and then we see the not Lafont, but his right hand man with the
Right.
bazooka
Yeah.
come up on the Hulk, and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah. Are you a man? That's what he asked him.
Yeah, and
You know, because it's fascinating to everybody else except for LaFront.
no, Lafont, he is committed to
Yeah.
he's committed to what he's doing. You
Right. He
know,
says, I don't want the man. I want the creature.
exactly, and that
Uh,
is maybe a little sad.
it is a little sad.
You know, but we see that that his right hand man is evolving a conscience.
Yeah.
That
Well,
he's
yeah.
deciding this isn't what he wants to do. He doesn't want to
No.
be freaking murdering this creature. He wants to find something better.
Yeah.
And Lafront is not having any of that, and he decides that the best way to do this is gather everyone together. And I love when the right hand man goes into David's room.
Yeah.
And you see him sitting there, and he knows that's David's room. He knows that David is probably the creature, but he goes in, and there's David asleep in his bed.
Mm-hmm.
Because he got in there just fast enough. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But
And we don't even know if he saw the window open with the blinds
yeah.
ajar or
We don't.
anything.
Although, you know what? And that's what I'm going to say, is I get the feeling that the guy kind of was already feeling questions about this. Because you noticed
Yeah.
he
Mm-hmm.
puts McGee through.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't do any checking on it. He puts him on hold for a minute, and he's like, go through.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, he's like, this isn't working for me.
Right.
Whatever we're building, whatever we're changing, whatever we're trying to accomplish, we're not doing it. And this
No.
is, you know, this isn't the enemy we're killing. These are innocents. These are people. Lafront doesn't care, because Lafront didn't care that it was the enemy.
No.
His friend cared, you know. His friend
Yeah.
cared if they were the enemy. If it was the enemy, it was fine. You know, we're killing the enemy because we're doing what we have to do to get rid of the enemy. But
Right.
if we're not killing the enemy, what the heck are we doing?
Right.
And that's the question. So Lafront, Jed Mills calls everyone into sort of the break room to have the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
he shoots his right hand man in the leg because
Yes.
he is no longer of value,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just starts burning the place down.
Yeah. He's literally, he knows the connection.
Hmm.
He feels like he knows the connection now between, you know, reality and the Hulk, and he's going to inflict the pain, make him angry,
Hmm.
and whoever it is that's in the room is going to Hulk out.
But now
And,
let me ask
oh,
you a question.
sure.
So in that moment, David comes to him and says, "I'm the guy you're looking for.
Yeah.
I know. Look, whatever you're trying to do, let them go. We can talk about this. Let's figure out what we can do." Because I realize
Yeah.
I am way out of my depth.
Right.
And then LaFront turns him down.
Yeah.
Now, do you think he turns him down because he's not sure, or because he just doesn't care and he wants to? Honestly, he just wants an excuse to kill all these people.
I think he turns him down because he wants to see it for himself. And he's right. He doesn't want the man. He wants the creature. And when he goes to take him out, you know, that's who he wants. That's what he wants dead. He wants the creature dead. And at this point, I'll say he's disassociating because I would give him too much credit, but I think, yeah, it's a moot point. Yeah. It's the creature. I don't care if you are telling me that you are. So if he would have said, let's see it, I don't believe you. Yeah. Well, he did actually. He did actually at some point
Yeah.
say, let
Well,
me see it.
yeah, and so basically he does throw a grenade, sets the place on fire,
Hmm.
locks everyone in, because he
Yeah.
knows the Hulk will come out. Because that's the thing, from his perspective, he just needs lead time. He needs to set up his
Yeah.
bazooka. He needs to get ready to
Hmm.
shoot the Hulk. Because he
Right.
knows the Hulk's going to show up, the Hulk's going to break everyone out, everyone's going to be okay.
Right. Right.
Um,
The process
and
of elimination.
process of elimination. It's like at this point, and maybe that's even the counter argument there is that he doesn't. It's like maybe he is the Hulk, but he's not going to take that risk right now.
No.
He just let's just find out what's going on. Let's deal with what's going on. It's not my concern really,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
because honestly, killing a dozen more people isn't going to be any skin off my nose.
Mm-mm. No.
So basically, he sets the fire. He goes off to set up his bazooka. Meanwhile, everyone's trapped in there. They
Hmm.
all start tearing stuff down. The guy who got shot in the leg starts telling him, "Hey, pull down the rack and use the rack as a
Hmm.
battering ram," which is a
Hmm.
great idea. But of course, it does get David's hand caught in between, which
Hmm.
triggers the Hulk out, and now we've got the Hulk out, and then smash, smash, smash. And
Right.
then, what I thought was great is the Hulk comes out, Jed Mills has him in the sights, he
Hmm.
triggers the bazooka, and then what should happen?
Jack McGee shows up.
Jack McGee shows up. Jack McGee drives his car right in between the Hulk and the bazooka.
Yeah.
And the car takes the full brunt of it. And for what it's worth, that's beautiful because it's like I don't know if that was even Jack McGee's intention, but it certainly worked.
Right.
And it's
It did.
yeah, it certainly solved that. Honestly, I was afraid Jack McGee died in that scene. I was looking.
I did too, because technically, bazookas are pretty powerful. They would have took the whole car out, but
Yeah, yeah, but he gets out.
yeah, bless his heart.
Fortunately, he wasn't wearing his seatbelt, so
Exactly.
so he was thrown clear. He's fine. Those things are a death trap, as you know. But he gets out, and the car's on fire.
Yeah.
And then the Hulk goes back in to get the girl.
Yeah.
Because he realizes, oh shoot,
That-
no one got the gorilla. Okay, I'll go.
yeah.
You know, he goes in, picks her up, takes her out, and after he has already wrapped the bazooka around Jed Mills,
Hmm.
locking the man up.
Nice touch.
Yeah, it was a nice touch. And then, everyone's saved. The Hulk gives Jack the girl,
Hmm.
and then the Hulk runs off into the cleared California night.
Yeah.
Which was
And
nice.
the thing that I thought about the Hulk, see, this is where the humanity comes in to play.
Mhm.
He takes the bazooka, wraps it around the front, and he just kind of like, as if he could say it, see, I could have easily killed you, but I didn't. It's the difference between me and you. I may be a creature driven by rage, but you're a psychotic. So,
This is
I
absolutely
thought that was a really poignant moment right there.
yeah, and that is a great point to it too. He does incapacitate LeFront and
Yeah.
puts him in a place where it's like, dude, you are not gonna bazooka anyone tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know where you think you're coming off with this. I don't know what you think you're doing, but yeah,
Yeah.
let's call it a day. And the Hulk gives Dr. Morrow to Jack McGee, and then the Hulk runs off.
Yeah.
But he comes back.
Yeah.
And again, it's just that weird thing where now, like Jack McGee, or not Jack McGee, but David Banner realizes that Jack McGee, he's not an omnipresent force.
Yeah.
Yeah, cops are crawling around. He can call through and get in touch with someone and have them come out and bring out his little brown bag.
Mhm.
And sorry, he can get away. He doesn't have to
Yeah.
be bound by all these worries. He still has to
Mhm.
get away because he knows that Jack McGee is going to be around, and the longer he stays
Right.
around, the more problems there are going to be. But if he gets on the road right now, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good.
That is good. He even gets to come back and, kind of reassure Dr. Cabot that, even though this is a farce funding of her lifelong work, that she lands on her feet and she'll be fine.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, she's like, and tomorrow I'll go apply for grants again.
Yeah,
She knows dang
exactly.
well what she's going to do, and she knows dang well what she's doing. She's
Yeah.
experimenting with these crazy growth hormones, and she knows that it's not what everybody wants her to do, but it's
Right.
where the mad science takes her.
Right.
You know,
It's something she needs to do.
and that's a beautiful thing in its own
Oh, always.
right. So from there, he heads on to Hear the Lonely Man theme.
Yeah.
80s Music Girl, any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
Yeah, actually, I thought that, at the end, when everyone got out of they got out of the burning building safely, and this is just me because I can be cynical. If you would have did a head count, if you knew everybody that was in there, if you really wanted to figure out who the Hulk was, you would kind of put two and two together, but perhaps it was just too much chaos going on and really no one cared, that David wasn't there anymore. So it was just one of those things where it would have been a really good opportunity, but as my husband says, then, the TV show would have ended sooner. And, where's the entertainment factor? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, so what I'll say is, I'm sure everyone in there knows that David Bennett is the Hulk, or David
Right.
Branford, or whatever his name was in this episode. They're all,
Yes.
they're all, oh yeah, he turned into the Hulk. But
Right.
whether or not they know what he looked like, whether or not they know who he really was. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not for nothing, he's lab jockey number 7.
Mm-hmm.
He's mostly working with Dr. Cabot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the first time they saw him was, that guy, yeah, that guy, he turned into the Hulk. You know,
Yeah.
his name, I'm not sure. What was his name? Was David? I guess it's David
Yeah.
something. You know, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think there's going to be this strong press towards that. And I think it's going to be
Right.
what you get over and over again when Jack McGee shows up at these locations and talks to people. They say, oh, yeah, his name was David. David something. Something with a B. I don't
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
anyway, so Bill Bixby's out. He's
Mm-hmm.
off to his next adventure, and that I think is the end of the episode.
It is.
It is.
Good episode,
It
too.
was it was a really good episode. I mean, honestly, this was without a doubt, I think one of the stronger episodes of the season. Although the episode
Mm-hmm.
before this was actually really strong too,
Mm-hmm.
but the Hulk was much less central. Whereas in this episode, the Hulk was 100% central to the plot. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, they're both really good, and I really like where they went with both. And I still say that Peter Dinklage completely borrowed his Trask look from Jed Mills.
There you go.
LaFront is 100% Trask. You even see him, like, they even are shooting him short, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed it, but they kind of like shot down on him every time they shot him. They kind of gave him like some upshots from the crotch, so you
Mhm.
saw like his high waist and everything, and could sort of see him trying to project himself to be bigger, even when he's smaller. You know,
Right.
so I definitely loved Jed Mills in this. I loved LaFront. He was a great character, great, great scenery chewer, and that was fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, 80s Music Girl, if folks would like to reach out to you and talk to you about the Incredible Hulk or anything 80s related, how can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter at 80s Music Girl, 80s Music Girl on Facebook, and 80s Music Girl on Instagram.
Sweet. Okay. And of course, you can always find me in that old-fashioned email way what's my address? It's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters @Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEesser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. Thank you for hulking out with us, ladies and gentlemen. Please hulk out with us again.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.